Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, closet swing traders. Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. We've got looks to me off the bat like a little bit of a slow roll type of morning. We will see. I don't see we did have Tesla earnings last night. We also had IBM, which actually IBM I think killed it. So I would have them. I know they're not on the list of 6 stocks that we watch, but we do get a wild card, so maybe we could look at something like that too. But as you guys are piling in, let me see who's in the house today. We got Albert. Good morning, Alex. We got Alex Newton. We got Bill, Brandon, Brian, Cedric, Daniel, Fayaz, Jenny, GWJ, Jenny, Jennifer, Jill, Joe's in the house. We got John, Justin Williams, either in school or on the way, depending on your time frame, Justin. I think you're in Florida, though. Good morning. We got Kerry. We got Kevin, Kyle. Matt's in the house. Michael Holt. Quantren's in the house. We got Rick, Sylvan, Tanya, Tony, Will. You guys are piling in. Good morning to you guys in YouTube land. We got Raymond in YouTube land. Oh, man, make sure you guys kick it off with the like in YouTube land for sure. Let's go into the SPY. Let's see where we are at. Tesla, we'll get to as well. We'll cover some of their earnings, some interesting stuff out of the Elon Musk world. SPY itself, though, right now, we'll have to see where this thing opens. We are still technically below yesterday's VPOC. Let me just flip this to an hourly chart. So at open, we are dipping a little bit lower than I kind of want it to. This could also be some type of, if we're doing wave count, and again, this kind of all over the place on this wave count. Actually, this could be a continuation from a previous wave count still. We still might have another move higher. If we're looking at this as a 1, a 2, this entire move is 3, then this is all a 4 that we're in. And we get one more push up higher, double top, new highs, something like that. So it is possible. It is possible out there for us to make potentially one new high. However, in this spot, we'll have to see. We do have this VPOC right here. That was the retest yesterday. Somewhere in that area, let's find out exactly what number that should be. That's somewhere around 366.92 is a spot that I'm looking to hold. If it doesn't, we still have this down here. This dotted line is a longer term VPOC. We already retested that, used that as some kind of support. That's somewhere around 365.92 on the SPY. Somewhere in that zone, we have another VPOC over here, 365.58. And if we drop past 365.58, we have probably a full-on retest down to, I would say, 358.41, somewhere in that zone. But as you can see right now, we have a couple of levels, at least, even if the selling does go a little bit bad, we have which is great for the bulls, I guess, to have some kind of hope. Usually not great for day trading when you're in a zone like this, right? If we start to break out higher than that VPOC, and we start to really use yesterday's VPOC as some kind of support, that would be 368.04. Something to that effect. We did have our first, so again, two VPOCs down from me. At least for me, that's not really a trend yet. 3 would be, right? So yesterday we had, or 2 days ago, we had one here, still making new higher highs, stepping up. Yesterday was the first day that we stepped down. Today would be very, very important that we step up if we're going to maintain a bullish direction. Or continue this little bullish pop that we've had, at least in a worst case, because bullish direction, I remember the good days back in 2021, 2020. Otherwise, yeah, longer term still bearish, but I think we could get some kind of squeeze potentially still. I just want to see this number. We're VPOC from yesterday. I want to see us get a break of this VPOC, and then we could potentially move higher. Otherwise, we have some room to the downside, but we're going to get hit with a few different levels that could also be bounce spots for the SPY too. So it's going to be, I think, again, a little bit of a chop fest, if anything. Stephen King is in the house. Good morning, Stephen King. Hector's here with us. Haitian Pete in YouTube land is here. What is happening? Q's very similar. Very similar. Unfortunately, I feel like this entire month has been just one big area of chop fest. You got 1 or 2 good days this month of like just tons of room to make and execute trades. Everything else, for the most part, Q's we got still below yesterday's VPOC, so not a great sign. But the next VPOC, which we did already retest, is 269.45. So we have a little chop zone from 269.45 into 269.82. Not a lot of room. And if we start to break that level, we have this other bigger time frame VPOC that's somewhere around 269.32. Even if that one breaks, maybe we get 269. So in this range, it's going to be a little bit congested. Which again, for the markets, I don't know if Emily's in the house. If we have any big news coming out, we had the Beige Book yesterday. That was around 2 p.m. We did have Biden come out yesterday, pretty much putting a floor into oil. And then we had one Fed speaker. CR0 says, basically any big move today in either direction will cause a larger move towards that direction. Yes, that's absolutely a good point. Yep. So right now, I would approach this market if we're opening somewhere in this range, and the Qs is dropping below that one, so that's not a good sign. I have to lean a little bit more bearish than anything. I do have to lean a little bit more bearish today. I don't know for day trading wise. Yes, simply to answer the question, yes. If we start to get a big move higher, I think we have room to definitely move higher. If we get a big move lower, follow the trends lower. But we have to break during those moves. We have to kind of break out of this zone that we're in now. So at open, depending again, we still have 22 minutes. But if we open in the zone, I do want to be very patient because I don't know which way we're going to potentially break. The fact that we're gapping below that last bullish candle toward the end of the day, I mean, that's not a great sign. But we didn't even have that much volume coming on that, right? So there's not too much. There is a bunch of supports to hold us up, but I don't love the fact that we're opening below yesterday's VPOC. So that's not a tremendous sign so far. And this is also day 2 of pulling back a little bit. But once we can get out of that zone, we should get a good directional trade, right? And that's what I'm worried about is that early morning Shopzilla that we've become pretty accustomed to. So we'll see. Let's go right into Tesla. So Tesla missed on revenue for the first time since 2020. Not a good thing. However, a conference call did pump Tesla up a little bit. We know that with just some of their trucks, I think they sold a couple of trucks to Pepsi, some of the new electric trucks that they have for deliveries. So could be interesting there. They did talk about Cybertruck for a little bit, but for the most part, a lot of their metrics they hit, but the revenue, which is a big one, people do not like revenue misses. And I think a lot of that, I think the price of Tesla has come down a little bit for some of the previous models. So we'll see how it goes. My line in the sand is really 208.39. We obviously have some candles below that, but that's the last VPOC. If we start to really break that 208.39 zone, and if you guys remember yesterday, so I was holding options and I was holding calls, I was holding shares. I ended up holding the shares into earnings, which the plan for me was to actually hold options into earnings, try to get some free options to play it. But the premium of the option toward the very end of the day, like obviously in 2 days, the stock didn't move. Those options expired today. And the premium on those options were up about 50% heading into close. And I was like, I'd be dumb not to take it. So I took the profit there. I'm still holding some of the shares. So now my plan is to kind of work out of this little drop on this. Yeah, if you get 50% of, I mean, it was moving 50%, not because the price was moving, just because the premium, the people wanted the supply and demand. People just wanted those options. And I was like, here you go. That's yours. Take it. So I do have some shares of Tesla. I'm not selling at open, right? So that's my sentiment. I don't know how everybody else's, but I'm not selling it open. If we do start to drop past this 208.34, I'll probably buy some puts and maybe sell a couple calls on those shares that I have. So that's the plan that I have for Tesla. Otherwise, look out. We do have a good support down here. I could even see a flush at open, as just you do have some people, obviously pretty big bullish candle, pretty big bullish candle. You have some people that were profitable that are losing on this trade. I'm looking for a flush down to this 208.25 zone. That would give me my best risk to reward. So we did talk about this yesterday. We saw a nice move somewhere pretty much towards the low of the day yesterday. And we're saying, yeah, this is just a risk to reward play. I would have some kind of entry, maybe 208.34. See how low you can get it to that VPOC. And stop would be somewhere in the 203, 204 zone. So you get about $4.20 of risk. Definitely a lot of upside for retest. And if the market holds up, I mean, again, Tesla is Tesla. People are going to want to find good valuations to get in on Tesla. Is this the best location for a longer term? Not probably somewhere around the 150 zone. I would think is a little bit better, but again, that's me. All right. We got AMD. I feel like AMD has just done, and I guess my feeling could be confirmed because this is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days of just shopping sideways. So there's a lot of just sideways chop the last few days. You do make some relatively big moves. Most of those big moves have been because of a gap in the morning, not just opening inside candle. So this would be an inside candle. I'm really looking for, again, this is a VPOC down here that was not retested until this day, right? And we've used this as some kind of support, 56.76. We held that. I'm still looking for that being some kind of support today. The one thing that is a little bit different, at least from Tesla, from Qs, from the SPY with AMD, one case I'll make is we did retest those VPOCs, which have to hold. And we are opening above yesterday's VPOC. It was very similar. There was good setups on AMD yesterday. The thing that troubles me the most is all of those spots up there are all going to be resistance. So I feel like the reward is still just not great. I mean, we could easily get a good pump and then just smacked right down before targets. Easily. Did I already cover Amazon and NVIDIA? Not yet. But don't even worry. Don't even worry for a second. We're getting to NVIDIA right now. We do have a uptrend on NVIDIA. So yeah, if I was to trade, if I want to make a trade on the chips, at least the ones that we watch, NVIDIA would be my play. We have an established trend. We have another VPOC over here that we've already now retested into twice. We did get smacked down both, but the more we get up into that zone, even on the volume end of things, as we approach those ranges, they start to drop on volume, making this a little bit more breakable every time we get a little bit closer to it. Sleepy Joe, decapitating semiconductor sales and production to China is not great for business for NVIDIA and AMD. Think about this two ways though, Brandon. Short term and long term. Do you honestly think that ban on chip sales or attempted ban on chip sales to China is going to be around for the next 10 years, the next 5 years, the next year, the next 6 months? When do you think that lets up, if at all? Maybe your thought process is that it doesn't, right? So all of those political moves in stocks tend to actually give us entry prices, right? Because now nobody's thinking, okay, NVIDIA is going to be as strong as it's supposed to be, and then 2 days later, Sleepy Joe wakes up and we're there, right? We're like, okay, they could sell now again, so bring it right back up. So we could be looking at this thing. I did buy a call yesterday. When I say a, could be a couple. but I did buy a call on NVIDIA mainly for two reasons. One, I do like the trend that's in there. And two, I'm just kind of playing the 78-minute Momo on it. So we could get, I like this little stair step pattern. We did close above that previous VPOC. I got the 135 strikes, which is up here. So it's a little bit further away. Just does it get there? I don't know. I don't think so. I'll probably be out before then, but looking for some kind of a pop. The next, and the main reason being is we already retested this one, right? That brings us to this area. If we can get some kind of move, that takes us to about 131, 130, somewhere in that zone. So we'll see what happens on this one, but yeah, I want to go a little bit more bullish than bearish on NVIDIA for today. And again, bullish or bearish. Like AMD, if it breaks down the key levels, I'd rather be in AMD bearish. I just don't like the upside to AMD for right now until it proves that it could get through some of that resistance. There's not that much realistically resistance. We even have some kind of pennant pattern, at least to this point, forming. Something like this, like this. We got this big candle thing down here. Could be an interesting pop. So definitely want to watch this one. It could get maybe some wings, and it could be today, could be tomorrow, could be a week from now. Maybe never. Maybe it just dies. Who knows? One of those two. One of those several options. Matt R says U.S. execs in China working in the semiconductor industry have been told to resign or stop working there. Yes, correct. Or I think they have to denounce U.S. Citizenship, I believe. Quite the choice. Quite the choice. He's the U.S. citizen over there working in China is like, all I want to do is make chips. I don't understand. Apple, we got come back now, or we disown you. One of those. Matt says I love Doritos. Apple, I would have to be a little patient. One, because it is an inside gap. It's really right at that 50% mark. But we do have some kind of support at 142.51, some kind of resistance at 143.42. Apple, to me, would fit into that chop category. If we end up breaking, we do have some room to the downside. If we do end up breaking this 142.51, that would take us to probably somewhere back in this 139 zone. So that would give us a little bit of wiggle room to the downside if it does break. Right now, out of the gate, though, doesn't really seem too exciting. Alpha Craig says, could you briefly explain VPOC? Yeah, I should be able to get that in. Let me just cover one or two more stocks, and we will talk briefly on that. We have Amazon. So Amazon itself, 2 days trending down right now, like SPY and Qs. We are below that current VPOC. Not too much of a fan of that. We do have some kind of support at 114.52. These guys have been struggling for a little bit to really make any noise. I don't see when their earnings come out. Earnings come out October 27th, so a couple days. Is that next week? So you do have earnings on the horizon for Amazon. Again, just we had a big gap up. This is still technically a retest into the gap. If it depends on how today closes, but right now, again, if this thing starts to break, I'd say 114.88. I will be looking bullish on Amazon. If it cannot get past that, it does have a nice little hammer inside candle. But if it cannot break that, I'd be looking for maybe some kind of support. Again, probably 114.04 is a level it has to hold. Otherwise, the next level comes down to almost 113.11. So 113.11 would probably be where I'd be more interested in buying Amazon, if anything. But for right now, day trade wise, nothing too spectacular. Delta. Good bullish uptrend so far. We are opening slightly to underneath yesterday's VPOC as well. We did come into a heavy, we were watching this area relatively closely. I know pre-markets when we've discussed Delta, but You do have probably a little bit of a chop zone up in this area. If we can start to break and really start to hold this, really $33, we'll call it. We should have a lot more room to the higher side on Delta. Pretty good double bottom, higher lows that we've been putting in. This is a good break. Probably some kind of a wave 3 I'd put us in on a little longer term basis. Eventually, we will get some kind of a pullback. I almost expect that to come in. Yeah, this is really an area that has to hold. Otherwise, we could be taking off. We could be launching. That will give us room probably up until $38, so $6 higher on a $32 stock. Not horrible, but I would love to be really buying a dip on Delta if I was going to swing trade that one. So just real quick on the VPOC, and we'll explain it as we do IBM. So we could do, bam, 2 things at once. That's crazy. Oh man, 9:21 Eastern in the morning. I'm doing 2 things at once. My mom will be proud of me. She'll be so happy. All right, we got VPOC is just the highest volume at a certain price that people are buying, and most people are in the market are more. Just as I'm proud of you. It's more institutional buying than anything really that exchange shares, more so than retail. So you have a lot of institutions at these levels deeming that price an interesting price. Whether to go bullish or bearish is a whole different argument. But that is the levels that you would look for, because obviously if somebody got in here on IBM, right, and then obviously this was the way down, they ended up pushing it down. It means most of that volume that was coming in was actually more short. Then when it comes up for the retest, that's a position they're looking to protect, right? So if IBM did not report earnings, I would be looking at this thing as more of a bearish play for right now, as that was the retest. I'd have some stop probably up in the 123.13 zone, and then I'd have some kind of entry wherever you want. As close as possible to that VPOC, get better risk reward, but it really shouldn't break this at this point. However, obviously, once you get some kind of catalyst news, anything like that, let's flip this over to a daily chart. It is a good gap and go. Obviously, some bulls came in there. We did maintain a pretty just sideways trading momentum. We're up about $4. Pretty decent move. You're into a little resistance. I mean, that's another good pivot that you're breaking. Anybody that's shorted here, held through this, those guys are all trapped. I would be looking for, let's look on this one. Let's add this one to our list for potential day trade with a 10 EMA. I think we could get one on this. Again, I would like to go bullish. What I would like to wait to see is if we get a little pullback, even if it's just down to this 125.98 zone. And IBM, the only problem with IBM, it's very blue chippy. Maybe it has some catalysts. Maybe it has a catalyst today that will help move this thing from the earnings play. Otherwise, IBM is typically a little more difficult to day trade. I've never traded it after earnings. That's the only thing that might hold me back. But I'm going to watch this one very closely. Any other stocks that you guys want to take a look at? We got Diamondback Energy. Yeah, watch any of the energy stocks yesterday or today. Yesterday, with that, pretty much essentially, Joe Biden said that as a attempt to encourage more production oil in the U.S., he's like, we're using some of the reserves, but if it comes down to, I think the price was like $72, then we're going to be buying back. So if you guys are worried about overproducing, don't worry. We got your back. If it comes down to $72, we'll be buying. So essentially what he did was put a floor into the pricing of oil, essentially. And that was, anytime you have safety in anything, I mean, it's going to run. So watch Diamondback Energy, does have a good trend. You're starting to hit a little bit of some kind of resistance up there. This would be a retest gap. So I would be looking to buy mark off like 146.29 or 146.30, somewhere in that zone. If you could get into that range, that would be an area that I would prefer to wait for that pullback. David says, Neo, make sure, if you guys don't mind, just check the chat panes. Make sure it's on everyone, not just host and panelist as well. Thus, this way, everyone can see your comments. Neo, looks like death still. We're still holding yesterday's VPOC, but honestly, that's a massive downtrend. I would continue to sell any bounces on Neo. SLB. Puts on XOM. Somebody, Peter in YouTube land is saying, I don't think I want to do puts on XOM. It's just too hot. There'll be a certain point where it makes sense. I don't think yet. I want to see a little continuation actually today on XOM. Whether we get it or not, who knows? But I think oil can still rally, and I think oil will actually rally more after the November 8th elections. Just FYI. I also think inflation will be popping up relatively decent after November 8th as well. Just my theory on it. But SLB, wait for that retest again. If you want to try to attempt, this thing is up. This thing's run a lot already. It's into a bigger resistance. I'd be looking more for, I don't really want to go short. You're fighting the trend, but if you want to go long, at least wait for the 45, 43. We will see. Snowflake. Gas prices at $20. They're not $20 now. You guys are lucky. You guys are lucky. Pre-market down slightly. It's a little bit in this chop zone. I had this upper trend line for a while. We did break it. As long as we're still back in this upper trend line, which you can draw on your own screens from this point, just extend it. This was a massive breakdown. To me, it probably does head a little bit shorter as we're breaking fundamentally a big move. I think this is some kind of retest. We had lower. I just wouldn't take that short yet until we start breaking that trend line again. So definitely keep on the watch list for a short, but I would not be taking it yet. I don't see a video about VPOC in the channel. Put in volume profile. Type in volume profile. It's the same thing. I'm not sure how it's listed. I know we have a couple videos. And if we don't, either myself, Tracy uses it all the time. You could also type in Tracy Ball. It might come up as well. There's a video explaining how, I know at least how she traded using volume profile. All right. Nothing too crazy on the BABA. Amazon getting a little dumpage. Justin is saying, so let's see if anything changed, developed there. And I think we have time to just head right back into the SPY. Yeah, a little bit. So at this point, let's see how it holds around this 113.15 zone, 113.08 zone. But doesn't look good. Let's go to, but again, even these, it's buy as low as you can. Don't get too greedy. Sell as high as you can. They're all kind of just channeling a little bit for now, just trying to figure out which is the next direction for the market. Are we at all-time lows for the year, or do we rally a little bit? And I think that's what everybody is trying to figure out, and that's why we're seeing a lot of just this shop zone. And unless we get some kind of good catalyst, I think we just chop probably for a little bit. We'll see. Inside day on SPY still, so nothing crazy happening, but all right, YouTube, unfortunately, it's my time. I gotta go. You guys are incredible. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out, and we will see you guys all tomorrow.